which is filling the funnel. All business conversation, creating more conversations is going to help you create more prospects. It's going to help you grow a bigger business. And then last week, week 2, we talked about how to introduce Herbalife to your prospects. This week is about enrolling. How do you take somebody who was thinking about it, who has some level of an interest, and help them enroll as a distributor? Again, I know some language in Herbalife about recruiting customers. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about recruiting distributors who are going to go out there and sell products and duplicate the process. I want you to be able to build an empire around the world that will create the lifestyle that you're looking for. So that's what we're going to cover this week. Next week, these first 3 are free to you. All you had to do is click I'm in and you opt in. The 4th lesson you have to qualify for. You have to recruit at least 1 distributor after January 1st of 2024. Just 1. Your qualification deadline is April 18th in order to be able to do that. And then I'm going to teach you exactly how to get a new person, your new distributor, started right, which is going to start the process of duplication, radical duplication, we call it. And I'm excited to be able to share that with you. And there's no need, if you haven't recruited somebody, there's no need for you to have that training until you have recruited someone. So how many of you have qualified for that training already? Put a 1 in the chat. You've recruited at least 1 person. Put a 1 in the chat. If you're already qualified, you're already going to be there. Because I'm going to give you some of the best training that I have on how to get more duplication on your team. I struggled with duplication in my network marketing career for 3.5 years. I had addition and subtraction. I did not have duplication. And I finally figured it out. I've trained millions of people how to create duplication on their team, and I'm confident I can help you do the same. And then in May 21st, we're going to have our first ever Premier League leadership development training, an advanced leadership training just for you to become a stronger leader. There's 2 teams of equal value and equal size, and one has a great leader and the other one has a poor leader. The one with the great leader is going to get more productivity from that team. I want you to become a great leader. Now, the Premier League Leadership Development Program is designed for people who qualify for Premier League, who meet the requirements in their market to become a Premier League member. But for the first month, you have to have at least 5 recruits, 5 personal frontline recruits, and then we're going to let you have a sneak peek into that training to see what that's all about. Okay? So if you're qualified for that already, you already have at least 5, put a 5 in the chat. If you've already qualified for that training and you're going to be there, you have until May 17th in order to qualify. Take the information that we've been training for these last 3 weeks and use it in order to be able to participate in that training. I want to give you some advanced leadership tactics, mindset, strategy that will help you become a more effective leader. And our job as leaders is to get people to do a little bit more than they would have done. My job with you today is to get you to do a little bit more than you would have done. Now, when it comes to all the qualifications, do they have to have 250? They have to be a qualified distributor. You go to myherbalife.com or go to your upline, go to the company, get all your questions answered. I'm going to focus on training. Okay, you focus on the details as far as what you need to do market by market. I'm going to focus on the training necessary for you to be able to enroll more people and then duplicate the process and then lead those people. You focus on what you need to do in order to be able to get in and to qualify. Okay, fair enough? All right, let's recap what we talked about in part 1 of this training. Part 1 of this training, all business is conversation. And I will tell you this, you don't learn something when you remember it. You learn something when you can't forget it. So watching this one time is going to give you one result. Watching a second time will give you a different result. Watching a third time will give you a different result. I remember Mr. Rohn, when I listened to the Challenge to Succeed audio program for the very first time, it absolutely opened my eyes and it changed my life. But that wasn't the value of that program. I probably listened to that audio program 1,000 times. And every time I listened to it, I was a different person. I heard things that I didn't hear before. So I will tell you, repetition is the mother of skill. You need to have some spaced repetition. Going through this training, listening one time, taking the notes, that's great. But if you take this information and then listen again, then listen again. Listen when you're working out. Listen when you're driving in the car. Listen again. You're going to let it start to burn a new groove in your brain. You're going to start to learn the skills necessary. It's going to start to feel more natural to you. Okay? One time's not going to get you there. Especially if you're listening right now and you're not taking notes. As Jim Rohn would say, I could guess your bank balance within a few $100s as far as your network marketing income. Just listening is not going to get you there. The faintest pen or pencil is going to be better than the best memory. Write it down for yourself, and so you can repeat it with your team. This training works around the world for millions of people who work for you, but 1, you are a learner. 2, you are a practitioner of this information. And 3, you are a teacher. One of the ways you're going to learn the most is by teaching. Take this information as quickly as possible, teach it. So repetition, 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 repetition. And you might not like the chat. I'm not going to stop the chat, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to be asking you questions, and we're going to be interacting. And one of my first questions is, who's committed to become qualified for Premier League? I want you to put a number 1 in the chat. If you're absolutely committed, it is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. You're going to do it. Fantastic. And if you're sitting back watching like you're watching some Netflix show, this is not the training for you. This is interactive. We're going to be working together. Okay? So take the notes, repetition, 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 repetition. Have your team do the same thing. And you don't learn something when you remember it. You learn something when you can't forget it, when it becomes part of you. That's what I want these training concepts to be part of you. And what I'm sharing with you is not theory. This is actual proven plan of action that works in every country, in every culture, for people of every age, of every walk of life. Okay? So that's what we're going to share. So back to part 1 recap. All business is conversation. We need to get into more conversations. You don't have a quality problem. You don't have an opportunity problem. You don't have a product problem. You have a quantity problem. You're not talking to enough people. There's 4 things that we do. We sell, we recruit, we duplicate, and we lead. Our goal through this entire process is education and understanding. If a person is educated to the point that they understand what you have, it's easy for them to make a decision. And then we ended part 1 with a conversation challenge. And I hope all of you engaged in that conversation challenge. If you did, approximately how many conversations have you started since we started this training program? Put a number into the chat. How many conversations have you started? In whatever way. Take a look at the chat. Put your numbers in there. I know the translation's catching up. Some big numbers, some small numbers. My question to you is the conversation number, does that match up with your ambitions, with what you want to accomplish in this business? I hope it does. All business is conversation. If you want to improve your business, you have to increase quantity. And then through plan, do, review, you're going to get better and better. Through feedback, you're going to get better and better. If you started 1 conversation or 4 conversations or 6 conversations, is that going to get you to Premier League? Answer is probably not. What I want you to do is have so many conversations started that Premier League is just a natural result. It just happens as a result of the number of conversations that you've started. Okay? So that's part one. Part two, how to transition. This is what we talked about last week. How to transition to a business conversation. We went through that. We talked about how to tell your story, which is going to take some practice. How do you tell your story? Your background, what you didn't like about it, that you found a solution with Herbalife, and how you feel about the future. That story is so important. How many of you have practiced telling your story? Put a 5 in the chat if you've practiced telling your story to at least one person. Good. What you're going to find, the more you tell it, the more natural it's going to be, the better the story is going to be. This is something you're going to do for the rest of your career. Prior to Herbalife, here's where I was. Here's what I didn't like. I found a solution. Here's how I feel about the future. This is your calling card for life. Can you make it better? Of course. You don't need to make it longer. You can make it better. All right. I'm super proud of you for starting to tell your story. Put a 10 in the chat if you, just from telling the story, you already started to get some good results. Just from telling the story. Take a look at all the 10s. If we were there together, we would do this in person and we'd practice and we'd share the different lessons that you're learning. But what I hope you're seeing in the chat here, and that's the reason why we have the chat going, is for you to see social proof that this stuff works. This is not just theory. So we also talked about how to get support from your hot market, your close friends and family, how to get them to support you at least. How many used the exact approach that I trained you on how to get support from your hot market? I would like you to put a 3 in the chat if you used that. If you used it. And give me a fire emoji if you can find a fire emoji if it worked. If you got some good results. So the fire is starting to show up in the middle of the 3s. See all the fire? This stuff works, I'm telling you. Then we talked about how to invite to a third party, whether it's an event, tool, or a person. Using the third party to give the facts, you are the connector. And then finally, we had this exposure challenge. How many times could you expose the Herbalife opportunity to people, or at least schedule the exposures to people? See all those fire emojis? That's what makes me happy. The fact that you not only are here, you're listening, but you're putting it into practice and you're getting results quickly. Show me a profession that you can take information from 1 week and you can use it to get a pay raise in 1 week. You can get better results in 1 week. Show me somewhere that you can do that. In our profession, that can happen. If you change, everything changes. Okay, so the exposure challenge. How many either appointments or exposures have you set up over the course of the last 7 days? Put a number in the chat. How many? You went from conversation to exposures. How many have you set up? 3, 550? How many? 2, 3, 5, 50? I know translation, 5 appointments. It's all about conversation. It's all about increasing the conversations, about doing these different things. See, these are the numbers that matter. These are the numbers. If we get the Herbalife opportunity in front of people and more people understand it, more people are going to join, yes? So not everybody in the world's in this training for some strange reason. They could be. They're not. You are. So guess where the next stage of Herbalife growth is going to come from? It's going to come from you. You're going to set the standard. You're going to create the growth. You're going to create the momentum. And then the rest of the world's going to wake up and they're going to join you. Okay, so that's part 2. And now this week, let's get to the fun part, which is enrolling. Enrolling. How do you follow up effectively? How do you answer questions? How do you overcome objections? And how do you close? How do you help a person enroll as a new distributor? Well, the process I'm going to give you today will help you professionally guide the person thinking about it to a solution that they want to make. This is not about fancy stuff to be pushy or to be salesy or to convince somebody to do something they don't want to do. But you do need to be professional to guide them through the process so they make the decision they're comfortable with and they're going to stay with that decision. Okay? So let's talk about enrolling new distributors. First topic is follow-up. They say the fortune is in the follow-up. We have all these phrases in network marketing. The fortune is in the follow-up. What happens in our business, especially for some of you, is how many of you, the first time you were presented with Herbalife, you said, you know what? I'm joining. I'm in. Sign me up. Put a 1 in the chat if it only took one exposure for you to say, I've seen enough, I'm ready to go. And everybody that's putting a 1 in the chat right now, and there's a lot of them, you've probably been disappointed and slightly annoyed with the rest of the world ever since because they don't do this, they're not seeing the same thing you're seeing. You joined with 1 exposure, but that's not normal. Normally, it takes more than that for the average person to start a business. So you're like, come on, why don't they see what I see? So you can get a little frustrated that the rest of the world doesn't see it. So all follow-up is keeping the conversation going. We started a conversation in week 1. We started putting together some exposures in week 2. And now we're just going to keep the conversation going. I used to have this phrase. Tell me if you've ever heard this phrase. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. Put a 3 in the chat if you've ever heard that phrase. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. This was a training I got early. And it was like, there's so many people. Don't worry about those negative people that don't see the opportunity. Don't worry about those people that don't have the big vision that you have. If you've got enough vision, you're good. Don't worry about all the rest. Just move on. There's 8 billion more people. And you know what I learned? That was bad training. I learned that was a bad way to go at things. Sometimes you're bad at presenting Herbalife. Sometimes the timing is not good for them and they're distracted with something else in life and they can't even hear what you're saying. Sometimes you need to have some compassion for people and understand it might take more than just 1 exposure for them to make a business decision. So we're so pushy sometimes. We're so unprofessional sometimes. So what professionals do, and it's so off-putting, it's so transactional. Like if you talk to somebody, hey, and you're all excited, I got this Herbalife opportunity, I want to share it with you. And they say, you know what, now's not a good time. And then you never talk to them again. Like either you are a prospect or you are dead to me. Some people actually have that approach. That's what some will, some won't. So what next kind of leads to. If they're not a prospect, walk away. You don't need to talk to them again. They're the wrong people. I mean, here's the thing. There's a lot of people that took more than 1 exposure before they joined. Okay? There's a lot of people who took more than 1 exposure before they joined. Now, I want you to think about exposures Can you throw up the third party chart for a second? So take a look at all of these different things, and just consider these things exposures. Okay? And if you think about these things, and this is how you learned about Herbalife, a combination of these things, how many exposures did it take before you said yes to Herbalife? Trying the product, looking at a video, taking a look at a website, talking to somebody else, attending an event. How long did it take? How many months or how many years? 7 times, 4 times. A lot. Went to STS. I had to try the product. It was a year. A lot of people were customers for a long time. 6 months, 7 times, 5 years. First time, right? But that's not normal. What's normal is, for a business decision, it's going to take some time. But here's the thing. The first person that shared Herbalife with you, were they the one that ultimately signed you up? Or was it somebody else? Put a 2 in the chat if it was somebody else. Somebody else. Someone went through the job of exposing you to Herbalife. They did some well, some won't, so what next? They moved on with their life. They said, beat it, I'm gone. And they planted the seed, and somebody else came along, and they got the fruit. So follow-up is staying in conversation whether or not somebody joins that second. That's what follow-up does. Look at all the 2s. Those are all the people that you're missing with some will, some won't, so what next. Okay? So I want you to be a professional here. Not a poser and not an amateur. I want you to be a professional. And to be a professional, you need to master follow-up. So first concept in mastering follow-up is to be patient with your prospect, with urgency. Understand, people got a lot of stuff going on. They have a lot of distractions. They got things happening with their family. They got things happening at work, things happening with their health, things happening all over the place. So be patient. They might not be ready right this second, but still have urgency. Now's a good time. Now, let's go now. If they're not ready, all right, circle back around. Stay in conversation. Stay close to them. That's the urgency, but be patient in the process. Second is multiple exposures are probably necessary. You should expect, you hope after one exposure they're ready to join. But it's probably going to take multiple exposures for a person to really become educated to the point that they understand the Herbalife opportunity. Truly. If you're face-to-face, on average, it's like 4 to 6 exposures on average. They'll have a conversation with you, and then they'll watch a video, and then they'll try the product, and then they'll be introduced to another person, your upline or something, and then they'll attend an event, and then they're ready to go. And there's no real order to this, but 4 to 6 on average for face-to-face. If it's online, it's way more. If you're using social media, it's 15 to 30 exposures before a person's ready to make a decision, if it's online. So how many of you have seen a product online and you say, you know what, I'm going to buy that product, and it still took you 30, 40, 50 times of seeing that same ad before you finally bought the product? Put a 2 in the chat if that's ever happened to you. You've seen it, you're intending to buy it, you're going to do it, and you're still seeing the ads. You haven't pulled the trigger yet, but you're going to. You're intending to. There's a ton of people in your prospect list right now that have intended to join Herbalife. They've already made the decision. You just haven't stayed in conversation with them. You're not staying in front of them long enough for them to be able to say, you know what, let's just do it now. I'm ready. So again, exposures being anything that isn't you, anything that builds trust, confidence, and belief. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create 3 thoughts for your prospect. When they're looking at you and they're taking a look at all these exposures. Hey, this looks simple. And what I mean by simple is not like guaranteed success, but this looks like something I could do. This looks like something that's possible. I think it'll work. What you're doing with me, I think I could do with somebody else. And I think I could do it. I think I could make this happen. Okay? So those are some basic principles. Be patient, multiple exposures, trying to create these 3 thoughts. Now, I want you to write something down or take a picture or a screenshot. Hopefully they have this in all your languages. But the main reason to have any exposure is to schedule the next exposure. This was my early training in my first 3 years from a Herbalife trained person. One of my early mentors, his name was Michael Nelson. He said, young man, the only reason to have an exposure is to schedule the next one. I said, what are you talking about? If you are sharing the opportunity, and if you finish that exposure and you don't schedule the next one, then you messed up. If they sign up, great. If they didn't, schedule the next exposure. That's our job. Keep the conversation going. We keep the conversation going from exposure to exposure to exposure to exposure to exposure. Okay? So if you end one exposure without scheduling the next one, you messed up. You got to call them back and you got to say, hey, sorry, I screwed up. What's the best next step for you? Do you want to try the product? Do you need to look at the comp plan? You need to meet somebody? You want to attend an event? You want to watch a video? Schedule something with some sort of timeline. So this is a critical concept. If we're going to have enough exposures so somebody understands what it is that you have, schedule one for the next to the next to the next to the next. We do the same thing with events. We build from event to event to event to event to event. Same thing's true with exposures. And exposures rarely follow an exact path. There's not one exact process that works everywhere in the world and works for every personality. You might start with an event if you can. Events are amazing. But events are hard to get people to. So maybe you start with a video. Maybe you start with social media post. Maybe you start with the product. Maybe you start with a Zoom call. Maybe you start with your upline or crossline. Maybe you start with a website. But don't get hung up on following some exact path because it's going to change all the time. For the last 36 years, it has changed all the time. Okay? Now, let me explain something to you that I think is going to give you some value. This really helped me in being less frustrated with people that needed what I had and could not figure out a way to make a decision. Once I understood this, I had more compassion. And I would suggest that you learn how to have more compassion as you are talking to people because they're living stressful lives. They have a million things going on. They're unsure about their future. They're worried about their families. They're worried about their finances. They're worried about any kind of change. So there's this clock dial. This is the way I like to look at it. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And then from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, in somebody's life, your prospect, something has changed. But nobody knows. They haven't told their spouse. They haven't told their best friend. Something's changed. Something's different. They're a little worried. They're hoping that it corrects itself. They're hoping that it gets fixed. But They're a little nervous, but they're not willing to change their whole life yet. They're more invested in fixing what has changed than telling everybody else. Okay? So they're not a good prospect. Somebody who's, let's say they just started a new business and there's some problems with the business, but they invested a lot of money in that business, a traditional business. Nobody knows about the problems. They're focused. It's not probably a great time. They're more focused on fixing the problem than they are starting something new. That's 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. You go from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, something's changed, and now some other people know. Their family knows, their friends know. They're a little worried. From 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, something's changed, and everybody knows. Have you heard? This person's in trouble. Have you heard? This business is really in trouble. Have you heard? This is a real issue. Have you heard? You should, be concerned about so-and-so. Have you heard? Everybody knows. And then you get into the golden time. And the golden time is they know that they have to make a change, and they're now open to possibilities. And Poonam, I'm not going to disable the chat because I use it for interaction. I know it's distracting. You can minimize it, but I use it on purpose to be able to have more of an interaction with you. Okay? So this golden time, that's when they're recruitable. That's when they're available. That's when they're open. That's when they're open to opportunity. That's when they're ready to make change. That's when they're ready to join. That's when they're ready to start changing their health habits. That's when they're ready. Okay? So if you try and get somebody from 12 to 3, it's going to be virtually impossible. You can start to get a few from 3 to 6 if they're visionary enough. You'll get a few more from 6 to 9, but you can get them all from 9 to 12. Why do you have to stay in follow-up? Because they're not going to tell you where they are in the clock dial. You have to find them. You have to be the one in front of them when they hit that golden time and they say, I'm ready. I'm ready. I know you told me about this before. I'm ready. Okay? So I learned to be patient and wait, because guess what happens? The clock dial moves. The clock dial moves. And eventually, every single person I know is going to be a prospect. And they're going to be open-minded. And they're going to listen. And they're going to try the product. And they're going to watch the video. And they're going to attend the event. And they're going to be open-minded. And they're going to be willing to change. Every person I know eventually. Might not be today, but eventually. This was very helpful for me. So let's talk about questions and objections. Questions and objections. The first thing that you need to understand with questions and objections is questions are your friend. I used to hate questions. Well, tell me about the sweetener that's in the product. Well, tell me about how this compensation plan works. Oh, tell me, how this or how that. They would ask me something that I didn't know the answer to. And I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to look foolish. Questions are your friend. Questions help people clarify and become more educated about what it is that you have. If you're going to buy a car, you're going to ask some questions about that car. That's not a bad thing. It just helps clarify, is this the car for you? If you go into any store, you're going to ask some questions. It's going to help clarify if this is the opportunity for you. So questions are your friend. For your prospect, they help to clarify the opportunity. Anytime somebody asks a question, it's very simple training. Ready? This is really tough stuff to do. Anytime somebody asks a question, all you do is use a third party. If they ask you a question, introduce them, take them to a website, let them learn. Show them the products, let them try it. Let them hear a testimonial. Let them attend an event. Let them watch a Zoom. Let them watch a replay. Introduce them to somebody on your team. Have them join a conference call. Any of these third parties should be able to answer the question. What I would encourage you to do is don't answer the question yourself, even if you have the answer. Why? Because they're watching everything that you're doing and they're wondering, can I do what this person is doing with me? So if you're a super expert and they get the answer to the question from you, now they have to feel like they're going to become the super expert. What if they don't feel like they can? Every one of them can point, read, introduce, or tell a story to a third party. Every person in the world can do that. The most powerful person in the world, the least powerful person in the world. And you can use the third party to answer any question, right? Any question that comes up, you should be able to find a third party to be able to answer that question. Even if you know the answer. It's hard not to give them the answer when you know it, but you're setting them up for failure if you answer it instead of introduce them to a third party and let the third party give them the facts. You're teaching them how to be independent on your own. Okay? The second thing to understand is objections are your friend. They seem negative, but they're actually very positive. Objections are your friend. I went through 3 stages of handling objections in my network marketing career. 3 stages. Stage number 1 is I would agree with them and run away. And it's like somebody says, well, I just don't have the time. Well, if you don't have the time, then I guess you can't build a business here. And I would run away. Or they say, I don't have the money. Well, if you don't have the money, you can't build a business. I'd run away. If they say, oh, I hate network marketing. Well, you can't build it if you hate network marketing. I'm out of here. I don't like Herbalife. Well, if you don't like Herbalife, I got to go. You know, I'm not a salesperson. Well, if you're not a salesperson, we're in the sales business. Off we go. So I would agree with them and run away. Those are my stage 1, which didn't work very well. This was my some will, some won't, so what phase, where I lost a lot of prospects. I lost a lot of success. I lost a lot of people that should have joined my business, ended up joining with somebody else because I did not stay in front of it. So I would agree with them and run away. Number 2, once I learned something about network marketing, about the products, about everything, I started to argue with them. Anybody done that? I would argue with them. People would say, I don't have the time. Oh, yes, you do. Show me your phone. I can show you how much screen time you have on your phone. You've got plenty of time. Knock it off. I would argue with them. Or they'd say, oh, this is a pyramid. And I would say, oh, you mean like every structure in the history of the world? You mean like the most stable structure ever? You mean like every corporation? You mean like every business? You mean like every sports team? You mean like every organization on earth? Every nonprofit? Everything? Is that what you mean? So I would argue. If you've been around for a while, you probably went through this phase. Put a 2 in the chat if you've ever been in your arguing phase, where you would just argue with people and tell them how wrong they were about your product, your opportunity, about network marketing, about Herbalife, about anything. And how does that work? It doesn't work very well, does it? You don't get very good results, do you? You know, when you're arguing with people, you might win the argument, but you're going to lose the prospect. Not a good idea. So phase 1 is I agreed with them and ran away. Phase 2, I would argue with them constantly. And then phase 3, I finally said, you know what? I'm going to have these objections for the rest of my life. I need to learn how to be a professional and use the objection as an opportunity. I'm going to learn what the professionals do to use the objection as an opportunity to educate the prospect so they understand what I have. That's what I'm going to do. That was the beginning of me becoming a network marketing professional, because these objections are not going to change. They're going to be about the same for the rest of your life. If you speak English, so I can see it, but you can put it in your language too for the sake of everybody else, give me an objection. Put an objection that you commonly get in when you're prospecting. What's an objection that you get? No money? No time. It's expensive. I can't sell. Let me talk to my spouse. I'm not a salesperson. No time. Expensive. Can destroy the kidneys. Side effects. Expensive. No money. Product too high cost. No time. You're seeing repeating? Herbalife, no thanks. Can't afford it. Expensive, expensive. No time. I already know Herbalife. I'll get back to you. Too expensive. Product is costly. It's a pyramid. I have kids. Still baby can't do it. I don't have time. It's expensive. I'm not interested. So expensive. I don't like MLM. It's a pyramid scheme. My doctor won't agree. I hate direct selling. You're starting to see a theme? Let me give you a list. I'm not a salesperson. Here's some common objections. You're going to deal with these for the rest of your life. My family doesn't support me. I don't know anybody. So take a look. See if I got pretty close. This is a pyramid scheme. Herbalife, network marketing has a bad reputation. I have a bad experience with network marketing. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. Only people at the top make money. I already have a good job. How much money are you making? I need to try the products first. I'm not cut out for this. I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to bug anybody. I don't want to bother people. I don't know anyone. I don't like people. I don't think it'll work for me. I don't like rejection. I don't like anything about network marketing. It sounds too good to be true. I need to think about it. I need to check with my spouse. I need to pray about it. How do I know this company's going to last? What's my reputation going to be if I do this? I mean, have you heard these? If you've been around for more than 15 seconds, you've heard these. And here's, before I go any farther, I want you to hear me for a second. Most of you, I'll ask it this way. Put a 1 in the chat if you wish these objections didn't exist. If they just didn't exist. That everybody fully understood. Wouldn't that be amazing? If everybody loved network marketing, everybody loved Herbalife, everybody didn't have it, nobody had any limiting beliefs. A lot of ones. Be careful wishing for what you wish for. Because, and I want you to hear me, if these objections didn't exist, the company would not need to pay you the money that they are willing to pay you. I'll say it again. If these objections did not exist, the company would not be willing to pay you what they are currently willing to pay you. Once I understood this, I went, oh man. In other words, if I can get good at this, and if I could teach other people how to get good at this, then the company is willing to pay me as much as I can bring when it comes to productivity. Because if these objections didn't exist, everybody'd pick a company in 1 second. They would join, the opportunity would be over. Companies wouldn't need to pay you all the money. They wouldn't need to throw out the Mark Hughes bonus. They wouldn't need to throw out all these other things. They just wouldn't need to do it. They create the products, everybody'd understand, everybody join, it'd be over. This is what makes what we do great. If you become good at something that scares other people, if you become good at something that chases other people away, if you become good at dealing with objections, if you become a professional at educating uneducated people, if you become amazing at helping blind people see, now you're living in a world where the company has no limits to what it's willing to pay. It's willing to pay based upon what you're willing to provide when it comes to bringing value to the organization in terms of sales. Do you see? Do you see? Don't wish for what you don't want. Instead of wishing it was easier, what did my friend Jim Rohn say? Instead of wishing it was easier, what did he say? Anybody remember? Wish you were better. That's what this whole series is about. Why am I here with you? Why has the company made this huge commitment to you, with me, to help around the world for you to become absolute professionals, Herbalife professionals? Why? Because they want you to be better. Not because they want to help it become easier. They'll do their best on that. But mostly, they want you to be better. And in this training, if you pay attention, you're going to get better. It won't happen automatically. You're going to have to practice, but you're going to get better. Okay, so I hope that helped you kind of professionals at something that's hard. We're here to become professionals at something that's misunderstood. We're here to become professionals at something that's judged. We're here to become professionals at something that is made fun of. We're here to become professionals at helping people get past these objections that shut amateurs down. But professionals use these objections as an opportunity. So if you're ready to be a professional, a real pro, and do the hard thing that other people are not willing to do in order to create the life other people can't have, put a 7 in the chat. Let me see if you're ready for this. Good. Good, 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 good. I couldn't be more proud of you. This is the beginning of something special. We're going to do something, this organization, this Herbalife organization, my commitment is to bring you everything I have. So this is the best trained organization on earth. So you are unstoppable in the face of any adversity, any objection from any source. Okay? So let's get back to objections. There's 2 typical types of objections. If you break it all down, generally, 1, they either have a limiting belief about themselves. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too lazy, I'm an introvert, whatever. I don't know anybody. Or 2, they have a limiting belief about network marketing or Herbalife. They have some limiting belief, some misunderstanding. Either they think they have to be something different than they are, or they think that network marketing or Herbalife, they have some misunderstanding about it. Okay? Generally 2 types of objections. That's it. Limiting belief about themselves or limiting belief about network marketing or Herbalife. When I'm talking to somebody, I'm going to find out based upon their objection, which one is it? And then from there, I have a simple 4-step formula that I'm going to teach you on how to effectively use any objection as a tool. Whether it's a pyramid scheme, fine. Those are my favorites, Patricia. People who hate network marketing, they're my favorite. I used to be so scared when they would talk to me about that. Now they're my favorite. I want to teach them how to help them be your favorite too. They're not your favorite. You need to change your mindset on it. Show me somebody that hates network marketing. I will show you somebody that's going to join. Whether they join you or not, they cannot have this much emotion wrapped around it without some sort of emotional connection. It just cannot happen. I've just seen it a million times, 36 years now. So a simple 4-step formula to manage and use every objection. Number one, whatever the objection is, listen. Don't wait to talk. Just shut up. Listen with respect. Listen and maybe ask a few questions so you really understand. They say, I hate network marketing. Tell me why. I think it's a pyramid scheme. What do you think a pyramid scheme is? Oh, it's one of those things where everybody at the top only the people at the top make money. Okay, anything else you don't like about what you think that is? You know, I just don't hold like the people are too pushy. Okay, and what else? Tell me more. Were you involved ever? Was somebody in your family involved? Why do you have this negative emotion around it? Oh, my sister tried it. Tell me more. I'm really curious. Oh, you know, I'm not interested in telling you more. Well, forget about the opportunity for a second. I just want to know. Tell me your story. Listen with respect, number one. Number two, relate to them. Relate to them. I'm just like you. If you can, relate to them personally, do it. If not, use somebody else or something else inside of Herbalife to relate to them. So I'm going to give you the 4 and then I'll give you some examples, okay? 1, listen to them with respect. 2, relate to them. 3, tell stories, your stories or other people's stories. And part 4, the magical phrase, if I, would you? Okay? This simple 4-step formula. You're going to have to practice this a bit. It took me a while to become a professional. I'm an absolute professional. You cannot throw an objection at me that I cannot use these 4 steps in order to be able to overcome this objection and use it as a tool for them to become more educated and build more rapport with that person. And when I'm face to face with you, we will do this in person. We will do this together. I will live role play this with you. We will practice together. At the APAC extravaganza in Thailand, I'll be there. We're going to go through this specifically step by step and you're going to practice. Okay? So 1, listen with respect. Person says, listen, I just don't know. I just don't have the time. Let's say they don't have the time. Ask some questions to understand what they really mean. Are they saying that you haven't shown enough to justify their time? Are they saying that this isn't as important as other things in their life? Do they just not believe that this is real? What do they really mean when they're saying they don't have the time? Number 2, relate to them. When I first looked at this, I didn't think I had the time either. I didn't think I could fit this into my busy life. I was already stressed out. So I understand what you're talking about. You and me, we're the same. I totally get it. I think you're smart looking at this and going, how am I going to make this work? Okay? Which builds rapport. Now, step 3, I'm going to tell them a story. And if I can tell them my story, it's better. I never aim at them. But if I could tell them my story, I will. So if it's a no time story, I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to relate. I thought the same thing. And then I'm going to say, but let me tell you what I realized in looking at this. I realized that if I didn't have time now, at this stage of my life, what was going to change for me to all of a sudden magically have time? What would have to be different for me to have more time, more freedom? And I couldn't find it. I couldn't find something that would change enough that I would magically have time. So you know what I decided? I decided that I was going to make some sacrifices with my time and I was going to get creative with my time. I actually realized, you know what I realized when it came to time in building an Herbalife business? I realized I could build a business 15 minutes at a time. I could take 15 minutes and I could reach out to some people. I could take 15 minutes and talk to them about the product. I could take 15 minutes and follow up. I could take 15 minutes. I didn't have to take 15 hours. I could build a business 15 minutes at a time. And I decided to get creative with this and to say, I'm going to carve out some time as an investment in my future, an investment in my family. So 3 years from now, 5 years from now, I'm going to be able to have the time. But for things to change, I had to change. So I'm going to tell him my story if I can. And then I'm going to ask him a question. If I could show you how to make this work in a busy schedule, if I could show you how you can build a business 15 minutes at a time. You say 15 minutes at a time is not enough to get a customer? That's not true, Joey. You can start the process of getting a customer in 15 minutes, and then you can follow up that process after that with another 15 minutes. And then you can, it might take 3 15-minute blocks spaced out over a day for a person to become a customer. But you can use 15 minutes at a time to be able to build a business. I guarantee you. 15 minutes at a time, for sure. So if I could show you how to find the time so you don't have to be so behind when it comes to time and availability for yourself and for your family, if I could show you how to do this and fit Herbalife into an already busy life and busy schedule, if I could show you how to do that, would you be willing to take the next step? The only reason to have an exposure is to schedule the next exposure. That's all I'm trying to do is get them to the next exposure. If I could show you, would you take the next step? So let's say they don't have the money. Listen with respect again. Make sure I really understand. Relate to them and say, you know what I realized? Just about everybody in the entire world, no matter how much money they make, they have about the same amount at the end of the month. And that's their whole life. That's their lifestyle. That's what they do. That's their fun. And I realized, kind of embarrassed when I first took a look at Herbalife, that I didn't have a lot of extra money. So it was stressful for me, even though the price of starting a business was so low, that I found myself in a situation where if it didn't work out, it was scary. But again, I've realized if I don't have the money to start an Herbalife business right now, what is going to change? What is going to get better? What's going to magically appear that's going to help me change my circumstance? I realize no one's coming to save me. My employer doesn't care about me. My boss does not care about me. If I want my future to be better, I have to take charge of my own future. And if Herbalife is a business that will allow me to do it with a flexible schedule, low startup cost, lots of support, training provided, I can start where I am, I can learn as I go, I can be in a positive environment, I can have access to great products, I can expand in a business around the world. If that's all available, then I would be irresponsible not to find the money to start a business like this for my future and for my family. So if I could show you how to figure that money part out, maybe there's something in your garage or in your basement or something in your house that you're not using anymore you could sell. Maybe there's somebody who believes in you. Who knows? I don't know what it is. But I promise you, if you believe enough that this can be a solution for you, you become educated and you understand what this opportunity can provide, you'll find it. You'll find the money to be able to start something, right? Somebody says, I hate network marketing. This is a big one. Oh, this is a pyramid. It's a bunch of baloney. I hate network marketing. I love those. Tell me more. Why? Why do you hate it? I'm so curious. Did you get involved? Is it somebody else in your family that got involved? Did you try it before? It just didn't work out? Did the company go out of business? What happened? Tell me. I got to know. What happened? Forget about the business for a second. I just got to know. What's the story? Why are you so negative about network marketing? Oh, I joined and I bought a bunch of stuff and I couldn't sell it. And I felt like a loser. Oh, I'm sorry that happened. Or I got involved, but The upline that I had, they're very mean people and they're very bossy. Oh, okay. I get, but again, I'm just trying to understand, was it network marketing that was the problem? Or was it those bossy people? Was the business model the problem? Or was it that company that went out of business? Help me understand. Okay? So I try and get as much understanding as I can. And then I say, guess what? You and me are the same. I thought the same thing. I was so skeptical. It sounded so good to be true. All these pushy people, all these inappropriate people, they're handing out business cards at funerals. They are, being inappropriate all the time. They're so pushy. Did you ever run into all those pushy people too? Everybody trying to recruit you every minute of every day. Wasn't that annoying? I found that super annoying. And that's the last thing in the world I wanted to do. Last thing. I didn't want to be that annoying, pushy person because I'm an introverted person. But let me tell you what I realized after I did a little research, because I needed something to change in my life. So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to let my opinions affect my decision. This company, Herbalife's been around for 44 years. They have to be doing something right. So I took a deep dive. I checked into them. I saw the battles that they fought and won. I saw all the science that they have behind their products. I saw all the credibility and all the relationships and all of the willingness to change and the leadership that they developed and how much they care about their people and how committed they are for the future and that they're in 95 countries and they're doing billions and billions of dollars. And I realized all the things that I thought about network marketing generally didn't apply here. They might have applied to other companies. They didn't apply here. So if I could show you all of the research that I found that made this comfortable and credible for me, would you at least be willing to take a look at it? The only reason for an exposure is to schedule the next exposure. So you can use this for every single objection in the world, every single one. Everyone in the world. And we're going to do this live and in person when we're together in extravaganza, whether it's here, Colombia, UK, Thailand, Minneapolis, wherever it is. I'm going to be there and we're going to go deep dive. And we're going to teach you specifically how to do this. Listen with respect. Relate to them. Tell stories. And if I would you, I would ask you to put together. Yes, I am coming to India for a leadership training event for sure. That's as far as what I know so far. But the company's letting me know all the different places I'm going to be. So I will get to all of you. I can't wait to meet all of you in person. But what we've covered so far. Conversation, all business conversation, transition that conversation to a business conversation, learn how to tell your story, learn how to make an invitation, learn how to expose people to a third party that will help to educate them. Follow up is critical. Stay in communication with those people, keep the conversation going, how to answer questions, how to overcome objections. So that leads us to the big one. And this one scared me to death too. How do you close? How do you help a person who's thinking about it? And you can tell they want to do it. How do you help them make a decision? How do you help them join, not just as a customer? That's a piece of cake. But as a distributor. How do you get them to do that? To build an empire, to build a network around the world. How do you close effectively? So I'm going to teach you specifically, almost word for word, what I've trained millions of people to do. It's a very simple process. You may need to practice, like on the four parts to answering every objection. Get a Zoom with 10 people and practice with each other. One person throws up the objection, and then you go through the 4 parts and role play. Practice, 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 practice until you get it. You don't need to practice for 10, a physician, a person who wants to be a doctor, will practice, will go to school for 10 years before they'll let you be a doctor, a medical doctor. 10 years. I'm not asking you for 10 years to become a professional in Herbalife, but will you give me 10 hours of practice on objections? Will you give me 10 hours of practice on how to close? Will you give me 10 hours of practice on how to tell your story? Will you give me 10 hours of practice on having conversation? See, most people are not willing to do that. That's the difference between professionals and amateurs. The professionals will give you 10 hours. I'm not asking for 10 years. You know how far ahead you're going to be if you just practice objections for 10 hours with you and your friends? You're bulletproof. Nothing will scare you. And since you're going to deal with this for the rest of your life, you might as well get it over with. Take 10 hours and get it over with. Okay? So here's what to say at the end of every exposure. At the end of every exposure, no matter what it is, you have that whole list of exposures, whether it's a Zoom, they're trying the product, an event, a website, a video, audio, whatever it is, meeting with somebody, sitting down with somebody at a coffee shop, whatever it is, what most people say is, so what'd you think? Which is actually a really bad question. I'm going to ask you, please don't say that anymore. Because it's not very good. Here's the best thing to say at the end of every exposure. These 6 questions, I'm going to give them to you exactly. I'd like you to take a screenshot of these 6. Later, the company's going to send out all this stuff to you with replay. But in the meantime, take a screenshot so you have it and you can practice. Okay? These are absolutely bulletproof. They're amazing. Question number 1. What did you like best? What did you like best about what I just showed you? What did you like best about what you just saw? What did you like best about that meeting we just had? What did you like best about the product you just tried? What did you like best about the video you just watched? What did you like best? This forces the prospect to go in their mind and find something positive. And even if they don't find something positive, I can still use these 6 questions in order for them to help them join. And I can prove it to you. And we'll practice when we're in person. Question number 2. They give me an answer on question number 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. 1, you have 0 interest in this as a business. 10, you're ready to get started right this second. Give me a number. Where are you? Throw it in the chat. What number, pretend you're a brand new prospect with me. Guess what you're going to get a lot of? You're not going to get a lot of 10s. You're going to get a lot of 5s. 4s, 5s, 6s. If somebody gives you a 7, they're joining for sure. But a lot of people are 4, 5, 6. I got to check some things out. I got to get some questions answered. I'm still unclear about how this works. You got to show me how the compensation plan works. I got to try the product. Whatever. I got to meet some people. I got to attend an event. Scale of 1 to 10, where are you? You're going to get a lot of 4, 5, 6, 7s. 7 and above, they're joining for sure. Okay? I'm going to show you in a second if somebody's a minus 20, how you can still enroll them. Think I can't show you that? I can, and I will. So, question number 3. This one, now I want you to really pay attention to the exact language. Hopefully our translators have been able to make this work in how I say it in English. Question number 3. Between you and me, hypothetically, how much would you need to earn per month on a part-time basis with Herbalife in order to make this worth your time? Hypothetically, just between you and me, how much would you need to earn per month on a part-time basis in order to make this worth your time? Those 3 words are so important. Worth your time. Everyone has a number that is worth their time. Not everybody wants to start a business, but everybody has a number that would be worth their time. So, role play with me. She says 3,000. What's a number in real life now? What is a number? You as a prospect, how much would it be worth your time? 500, 200, 5,000, 500. You're going to get a lot of 300s, 500s, 1,000s. A lot of those. You're not going to get a lot of big numbers. Somebody says, I need $1 million a month. I'm like, really? $1 million a month? How much are you making now? You need $1 million a month. Now, I'm not going to say you can't do it because I don't know how much you're making right now, but come on. Realistically, how much would you need to earn per month on a part-time basis in order to make this worth your time? You're going to get a lot of 500. So let's just use 500. Question number 4. Realistically, how many hours a week could you commit to developing and building a $500 monthly income? Realistically, how many hours a week could you commit? How many? 2? You're going to get a lot of 5s and 10s. You're going to get a lot of 5s and 10s. Really. 4 or 5 hours for $500 a month, 4 or 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week. All right? You're going to get a lot of those. Question number 5. How many months would you be willing to work those 5 or 10 hours a week while you were developing a $500 monthly income? Because it's not going to happen in 1 second. You're going to have to build it. This is building a business. It's not a job. How many months would you be willing to commit before you say, you know what, I'm out? How many months? 30, 12, a lifetime? You'd be willing to do it for a lifetime if you still weren't there after 20 years? I don't know if you would. 10 months, 15 months, whatever. And then question number 6, the magic question again, if I would you. If I would you. If I could show you in the Herbalife compensation plan what it would take for you to earn $500 a month, right? If I could show you what it would take and what you would need to do in order for that to be real and for that to happen in the hours that you're committing and the months that you've said that you'd be willing to make that happen. If I could show you what you'd have to do in that time and you believed that you could make that happen, would you be willing to take the next step? Whatever that is. Yes or no? Pretty hard for a person to say no because I've given them everything they want. Most are going to say yes. Of course. Show me. Now, am I making a claim? Listen, these 6 questions should not imply any sort of guarantee. It's just a way for you to show your prospects what they would have to do in the compensation plan in order for that income to be real. Anytime you're discussing the financial opportunity, always show them the statement of typical earnings. Some of you would rather not show them the statement of typical earnings. I'm going to respectfully tell you that's a mistake. Show it to them. It gives you more credibility. It makes it more real. There's no need to over-exaggerate or over-promise. The truth is good enough. Show them what is possible. Show them what they would have to do. Don't overhype it. Don't make it seem too easy. Don't make it seem too fast. Don't make it seem like everybody's winning. Don't show things that are not typical. Just show them exactly what they would have to do inside of the compensation plan in order to achieve the goals that they put out for themselves. So back to the 6 questions. Back to the 6 questions. What did you like best? Now let's just assume somebody is super negative. They hate network marketing and they're a -20. Can I still sponsor that person? Answer is yes. You're like, what? No way. All right, let me role play with you. Let's say you're the negative person. What'd you like best about this video I just showed you? I don't like anything. I don't like you. I don't like the product. I don't like the company. I can't wait to get away from you. You're my least favorite person. Wow. Okay. That's the first time I ever heard that. That's pretty aggressive. Let me ask this, and I think I understand where you're probably going to go. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I know where this is going. If 1, you don't have any interest in doing something with this business, and 10, you're ready to join this business and build, where are you on the scale 1 to 10? I'm a -20. -20. All right. Play with me. Have fun. Just hypothetically, okay? I know you're not going to join. I know you're a minus 20. I know you hate my guts. I know you don't know how I look. I know you hate the company. But just hypothetically, if you did decide to build a business with Herbalife, how much would you need to earn per month on a part-time basis for it to be worth your time? I know you're not going to, but if you did, about how much would you need to earn per month in order to, realistically, for this to be worth your time? And I wait for an answer. There isn't an amount of money. Oh, there's always an amount of money that's worth somebody's time. All right, $3,000. Okay, $3,000. I know you're not going to do it. $3,000. Realistically, okay, let's assume that $3,000 was achievable. Realistically, how many hours a week would you commit to building a $3,000 monthly income with Herbalife? How many hours a week would you commit? I don't know, 15 hours. Okay, fine. And how many months would you be willing to work those 15 hours while you're developing a $3,000 monthly income? How many months? They say 6 months. And again, it's just hypothetical. I'm not holding you to anything. So listen, I know you've got some preconceived ideas. I know you're not happy. I know you don't like me. I know you don't like the company, but you said that 3,000 would be worth your time. 15 hours a week is something you could do, and 6 months is something that a time frame that you would give it. I know you got a bunch of negativity around this, but if I could show you in the Herbalife compensation plan, if I could show you what you would need to do in order to be able to earn $3,000 a month, working 15 hours a week over the course of the next 6 months, what you would have to do in that time frame in order to be able to make that income real. If I could show you, and if I could help you get past all of your preconceptions, would you be at least willing to take another look? Even if you don't like me, I'll introduce you to somebody else. Even if I'm not your cup of tea, I'll introduce you to somebody who's way more powerful than I am. But if I could show you that, would you be willing to take another look? I'm telling you, I could take a minus 20 and get them to take another look. For sure. For sure. So these 6 questions are absolutely amazing. We're going to practice them together. I would ask you to take a screenshot or a picture of this. Practice this with your team. At the end of every exposure, start. What'd you like best? Scale of 1 to 10. Part-time, what's worth your time? How many hours a week? How many months? If I was you. Okay? Here's some magic words and phrases that you need to understand. And you heard me say them a lot of times in this, and we're just about wrapped up. We'll finish within 7 minutes. Hypothetically, I'm not holding you to anything. Just between you and me. This just helps me get an idea of what you might be thinking. I take them off the hook. I'm not pushing. I'm searching. I'm looking for answers. So just, realistically, I throw that out a lot too. So some magic words and phrases that I add into those 6 questions change everything. So listen. Has this been helpful so far? Put a 7 in the chat if this has been helpful so far. You learning some stuff? You going to use this to be able to go out there and be more successful? I hope you are. So listen, we have this Premier League challenge that we started. This is week 3. Conversation, leading to transition, leading to story, leading to an invitation to an exposure using a third party. Follow-up. How to answer questions, how to overcome objections, and how to enroll, how to close. The ultimate goal, 10 distributors and 2 supervisors. You got to go to myherbalife.com for complete details. It might be market specific. Get your questions answered specifically how you qualify in your market, in your country. But I want to ask you a few questions. Question number 1. If you are committed to become an Herbalife Premier League member, I want you to put a 10 in the chat. If you're committed to becoming an Herbalife Premier League member, you're going to do it. Because I will tell you, this is really just a decision. If you get mad, you make a decision, you put your head down. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to get there, but man, just get mad. Anything you ever really wanted to go do, you figured out a way to do. This is not for everybody. Not everybody's going to get all the way to the top inside of this company. Not everybody's going to succeed. That's not true in any entrepreneurial endeavor. But if you commit to becoming an Herbalife Premier League member, and throw a 10 in the chat if you do, then I'm proud of you in advance. Because it's already done. You just have to add time and energy and practice in order to be able to make it done. Second question, this is really important. When are you going to become a member? Give me the month that you're going to qualify for Premier League. Give me the month. Put in the chat. What is the month when you're going to qualify? What is the month that you're going to make it happen? And question number 3, I want you to tell the whole world right now. Tell the world, I am committed to becoming an Herbalife Premier League member. My deadline is this date. And world, you can hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to my goals. Hold me accountable to my dreams. Hold me accountable to my future. Push me if you see me slowing down. Help me make it done. Tell the world. Don't be silent. Tell the world your commitment and your deadline. And then finally, when you do add all these people, would you like to help all of your newly enrolled distributors learn how to get started right? Would you like to do that? Would you like me to help you do that? Well, if you've recruited at least one person since January 1st of this year, next week, there's going to be a part 4, but only for somebody who's recruited at least one person. Your deadline is April 18th. You have to have your one recruit done by then. But I'm going to teach you a training called Radical Duplication. The conversation you need to have with every brand new person that gives them the best possible chance for success. Helps to onboard and launch their business. This training will blow your minds. This was my biggest challenge that I ever had in my business for 3 years. I did not know how to create duplication. I was so frustrated. I could add people, I could sell, but I could not seem to get people to duplicate. And I finally cracked the code. And I'm going to teach you my secret playbook on exactly how to create more duplication within your organization than you ever thought possible. So make sure you get your one recruit. Make sure you tune in a week from today. It's going to be amazing. So if I don't see you next week for whatever reason, I hope I see you at Extravaganza. If I do see you next week, I hope I see you at Extravaganza or online or in the Premier League Advanced Leadership Training or somewhere around the world. I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of your dreams, your hopes, your commitment, your desire. What I would love you to do, throw some fire emojis into the chat as a form of your commitment to your future. The company's committed to you. I'm committed to you. If you lock arms and be committed to you and to your team, then everything will change. For things to change, we got to change. For things to get better, we've got to get better. And this year, we're all going to get better. So I love you all very much. Wherever you are in the world, the best to your families. I look forward to seeing you in person. Have a great day. Have a great night. Have a great afternoon, wherever it is for you. Mwah. Ciao.